Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy Shaman Supreme over at Level 1. And today I'm here to talk about the next step beyond your gaming laptop experience. Specifically, talking about the Asus ROG Ally. You can go ahead and you can purchase your expensive PCs. You can make things a little bit more accessible and you can go ahead and you can get yourself a laptop. Or, hear me out, you can just get yourself the ROG Ally. Now, before I get into detail, you gotta hit that like button to show us some love, subscribe. We definitely have a lot more coming your way at Level 1. The ROG Ally is a handheld mobile gaming unit that is a competitor in these new age of mobile PC devices. Think about it, we've come a real long way, right? We started off with the Nintendo Game Boy, some of you might have had the Sega Game Gear, and stepping into the modern era, we have things like the Nintendo Switch. But this is a lot different. It's not just only a handheld gaming device, right? It's actually a handheld mobile PC. And to be specific, today we're going to be talking about the Z1 Extreme. Not to be confused with the previous version, the first version, which is the Z1. The Z1 is priced at $499, while the Z1 Extreme is priced at $699. Both have the exact same details, the same button placements. They do have some differences, but I'm going to get a little bit more into that when we talk about the specs. Right out the box, the package comes with a handheld device, a 65-watt charger, and a stand. To be honest, I personally wish it came with a little bit more other than just the device, the charger, and a little bit of a stand. I had to go out of my way to purchase some accessories to make it a little bit more comforting for me, and we'll even talk more about that later on. The ROG Ally is similar to the Steam Deck and Legion Go, where it offers the versatility to play your favorite PC games on a device that fits perfectly in your hands. The Ally has a beautiful design that feels comfortable and light. The solid white color that gives it a bright vibe right out the box. Only weighing 1.3 pounds, this has a 7-inch Gorilla Glass touchscreen, dual joysticks, Hall effect triggers, one USB Type-C port, an audio out port, volume control, 2 speakers, and an SD port. At full capacity, this bad boy runs at a full HD 1080p with a 120Hz refresh rate, and it only has a 7 millisecond response time. Unlike its competitor, the Legion Go, the Asus ROG utilizes Windows as an operating system. This makes it very user-friendly experience when starting the device. Because it's a PC window-powered device, it starts off like your typical computer. All you have to do is start naming the user, log on for the Wi-Fi, and get your updates. Before starting your ROG Ally journey, I highly suggest you update your PC. And you can do that in 2 folds. The first thing you're going to want to set up is the My Asus app. The Asus app is quickly overlooked, but it's a true guide to the diagnostics. You can use it to easily set up your device, register your product and warranty, transfer and save data for multiple units, run diagnostics, and add a customization feature to maximize and manage your experience. The other update that you need to do is the Armoury Crate SE. Armoury Crate is something that's common with the ROG series. It's your go-to place to access your games, apps, and overall ROG Ally features. You can change configurations and manage your gaming accessibility on your ROG. The game library is super easy to add your Steam, Xbox Live, favorite games, Spotify, PS Now, web browsers, and even more. Moving over to the setting features, this is where you're going to get most of the juice out of this fruit. You have things like control mode, which allows you to switch from gamepad to desktop mode. And Gamepad is designed for those who are using the Ally specifically for a gaming experience. All of the button layouts will be similar to your typical gaming pad. Then there's desktop mode. This is designed for those who are not using the ROG for gaming features. The keypad switches in this features, allowing the analog stick to become a mouse and the triggers to become the right and left click on a mouse. And you can go deeper into change these settings and change the sensitivity if you desire also. There's also operating mode, where you can also view your system stats. Here you can change the power usage between silent, which is 10 watts, performance, which is 15 watts, and turbo mode, which is 25 watts. If you have your ROG Ally plugged in, you'll actually get 30 watts. You even have the option to create your own power use profile, but you gotta be careful when doing this, you can really damage your device. Asus makes it very clear that they're not responsible. Each of these different settings should be adjusted depending on what type of game you're playing. You can also visit the game's visual options. Here you have several different visual options to choose from to change and fine-tune based what type of media you're enjoying. They have preset options like racing, scenery, RPG, FPS, cinema, eye care, vivid, and a default settings. If you know what type of game you're going to enjoy or what type of experience you're going to have on the ROG, you can make this an easy change to maximize the visual aspect. You can also adjust the lighting for the Ally as well. You can go ahead and pick a color of your choice or adjust the brightness and lighting effects. You can even aura sync with other devices to have a bunch of devices together with the same color seamlessly flowing. The connection is where you can manage your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connection options. This is where you can connect to your wireless controller and audio devices. I was able to Bluetooth sync with my PS5 controller with no problem. The audio is simple, you can switch between speaker and microphone of course. If you're ever having issues with your buttons, input, or you feel a drag, you can visit the calibration options to calibrate all of your buttons to make sure nothing is wrong. This can all be a lot, but hear me out. The command center button is a small button, the second one going down on the left of the ROG Ally. This is an easy way to access all of your settings on the Ally, even if you need to change any of the options that I just previously discussed. You can simply press the command center button and make these changes without having to go deep into the settings. This is great for those who are trying to go from a AAA game to a more retro or indie style. You can change from performance mode, which will use a lot of your battery, or you can switch to silent mode if you're playing something like a retro game, and that'll let you save more battery. You can change from airplane mode, change the LED brightness, resolution, take screenshots, and you can even record on your screen. Real-time monitor is an awesome option that is found here too. It allows you to see how your PC is running in real time without having to go to the Armory crate and change these settings. This includes the GPU, CPU, output, device temperature, battery usage, and the frames per second data. The control center is where you can check the Ally's media gallery for all the screenshots and recorded content. As a big fan of fighting games, this was great for me to record my matches and get an easy access to rewatch any media that I've recorded. As I mentioned earlier, we're reviewing the Z1 Extreme. But I need to say what's the difference between the Z1 and the Z1 Extreme. In regards to specs, the Z1 has a AMD Ryzen Z1 processor as its CPU. It has 6 core, 12 threads, 22 megabyte total cache, and 4.9 gigahertz boosts. For the GPU, it has an AMD Radeon graphics card with 4 CUs up to 2.5 gigahertz and 2.8 teraflops. The Z1 Extreme has a better CPU. It uses the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme processor that has 8 cores, 16 threads, 24 megabyte cache, and up to 5.1 gigahertz boosts. The GPU comes with the AMD Radeon, which has 12 CUs up to 2.7 gigahertz and up to 8.6 teraflops. In summary, this makes the Extreme 50% faster when gaming, and you should have more frames per second. Out of the two devices, the Z1 Extreme is the device you want to get if you plan on maxing out the CPU and GPU by playing AAA games. The extra 2 CPU cores and 8 GPU compute units will make the difference between a frustrating and smooth gaming experience. With that being said, don't hesitate on purchasing the Z1. It's still a real powerful device that can still get what you need done. If you're someone that likes retro or indies games, I'm a big Hades fan, you can still play Hades 1, Hades 2 on it, on silent mode, and you can get a full play with no problem. Both have a memory of 16 gigabytes with a DDR5 on board. For storage, they both have 512 gigabytes of memory. And I actually find that to be a lot of memory, but games like Cyberpunk are easily over 80 gigabytes. So you may want to get an external device or an SD card to maximize your storage. I definitely have to talk about my gaming experience. After all the updates, I was able to download all the things my Ally needed. I downloaded my Steam account and seamlessly was able to download the games I wanted. With the 512 gigabyte limit, I did have to choose wisely what games I wanted to play. You can easily max this out with 4 to 5 games by itself. But my goal was to max this bad boy out and see if it can truly do as advertised and play these AAA games. So I took the liberty of downloading Cyberpunk, Resident Evil, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Street Fighter VI, Diablo 4, and Dead Space. And I played all of them at the best settings possible. And in summary, it played beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Granted, I did have to play around with the settings, both the game settings and the settings with the ROG. With Cyberpunk alone, I was able to play at an average of 42 frames per second. But a wise man once said, every good thing comes with a price. And that's true with this. And I'm not talking about purchasing the device, I'm talking about the battery life. And no, I did not forget about that. In order to play all of these games, you have to run your Ally in turbo mode. Some you may be able to get away with in performance mode, but most of these AAAs have to be in turbo mode. Of course, you can change things like the resolution, you can go ahead and reduce the hertz, but it really defeats the purpose and the power nature of the device itself. I was only able to get 1 hour of battery life playing AAA games. I do have a battery dock, and luckily when utilizing that, I was able to get an extra hour and 20 minutes. But for those who want to play AAA games on this device, make sure you have an outlet near you, a power bank, or less than an hour of your time. Playing games that require you to be logged onto Wi-Fi worked pretty good as well. I was able to play Street Fighter VI in turbo mode with the graphics at the lowest settings. And you can see for yourself, this game runs great and looks really smooth. I definitely was able to have a lot of matches with my friends with no issues. But again, this will vary based on your Wi-Fi. On the other end, I was able to play my indie and retro game for a much longer time. Games like Hades, Street Fighter 2, I was able to get an average of 3.5 hours of battery life. I was able to get this by staying in silent mode where you don't hear the fans at all. This is my suggested experience for those if you're traveling or you just want to maximize the amount of time you get to use the device for. I said it before and I'll say it again. The ROG Ally is not a handheld gaming unit as it's advertised. It's a handheld gaming PC. If you're doing a paper, web browsing, or even using a streaming device, this does all the work that you need. I went out of my way not only to push the gaming end of the ROG Ally, but I also wanted to push the PC aspect to the max as well. So I took the liberty of trying to stream and game at the same time. Now, to do this, I had to make sure I had the right hardware and external equipment to make sure that experience happened. But for the ROG itself, it worked perfectly. I did it on Wi-Fi, I was able to utilize Streamlabs, I was able to communicate with my audience, and I was able to get good matches as well. I originally didn't have any intentions on talking about accessories, but when opening the box and I noticed how little it came with, so I want to talk about some accessories that I think are a little bit necessary and some that are not as much. Right off the bat, one of the first things I think this device needs is a case. Asus actually sells a case on their website, and I think they should just brought the price point up by a small margin and included the case as well. This is a beautiful and extremely powerful device, and it should be held with some care. I find that one to be a necessity. If you're traveling with this device, you can't just throw it in your book bag and expect it to come out wonderful. Now this next one is a little bit optional, but it comes with memory, right? You only have 512 gigabytes. So if you're playing these AAA games, you're definitely gonna need a lot more. And luckily the ROG device has a nice slot where you can place in the SD card. But as the making of this video, there has been several complaints of people complaining about the device overheating and damaging their SD cards. I personally didn't have any experience at all when using the ROG overheating, so I didn't want to take any risk also, and I got myself an external memory. As you can see earlier, I went out of my way and I got myself a power bank. If you're someone that's traveling all the time and this is going to be your main device for gaming in multiple different locations, I really suggest you carry the power bank because you might not find an outlet as convenient as you like. The controller is another thing that is optional. We all have our preference on how we want to enjoy the gaming unit. You can of course just utilize the button layout that's displayed on the ROG, but go ahead out of your way and get yourself a controller if you like. Now the next one I think is a must, and that is a dock. Why do you need the dock? Because the dock is where you're going to be able to plug in anything else that you need. If you don't want to plug in the SD device directly into the ROG, you can plug it into your dock. The dock is also a wonderful way to have a nice stand for the Ally ROG. I'm not a big fan of the recycled paper plastic stand that comes with the device. And just like the controller, you can go ahead and get yourself a headset as well, but that's an optional thing to do. Me personally, I got myself a headset, and that's because I can't see myself playing the ROG with the music being enjoyable for me and enjoyable for the people that are next to me. And lastly, there's always the portable screen. Asus has a bunch of wonderful portable screens for you to purchase. You can take one with you if you plan on streaming a lot. I can really see a use for that. All in all, my final thoughts on this device, it's wonderful. I used to travel to tournaments and I used to have to bring my PS5 with a monitor. Eventually I went and I got a laptop. I was utilizing that when I used to travel, but this just changes the game. This is definitely a step in the right direction for those who need a gaming unit right by your side. With the full HD, 1080p, 120Hz, 40 frames per second, you can't complain. Remember though, it is a PC. I will admit I did have 1 or 2 times where the device froze or got a little bit laggy for my taste. You can simply adjust the settings and that usually fixes the issue. One of my big critiques about the device has to be the battery life. In the end, I will say I love this device. It has truly made my everyday gaming experience and ability to play more accessible. Whether you're going ahead and you're going to play the AAA games and you need to use the Z1 Extreme, or you're someone that doesn't need to do that and you can just get the Z1, both devices are absolutely amazing. I personally think that the ROG Ally is the front runner in the race of these mobile PC units, but I'm going to save that opinion for another video. Do you have a Z1? Do you have a Z1 Extreme? Do you have a mobile PC unit? Let me know in the comments below what you think about the device, because I love it.